who's
Okay, who's got that password? I got the box. Patrick, did you get the new password? I got the box for the security key.
Oh no.
I don't want to try the wrong thing. It's on. You want them off or on? Off?
Oh, you're not even using it. Never mind. Sorry. Can't even reach this thing. Yeah. Hurt. There we go. I'm doing that, and you do that. That's how we're rocking today. Yeah, after you're done. After you're done. Mrs. Senza, she has a question.
No, I was just saying hi.
Oh, I thought you had a question. I lied, never mind. Got this. There's like 5 people.
Good evening, everybody. At this time, I'd like to resume the meeting and turn it over to our student representatives, Jacob and Kylie, for student comments.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm Jake Serrano, Executive Board President for SGA. If any students need volunteer hours, please check the SGA Canvas. Recently, we just had the homecoming football game, October 11th, and October 19th was the homecoming football game. Homecoming was a very successful event, as always, and always goes well. Our next kind of big event is Veterans Day, November 11th, and coincidentally, November 11th is our next SGA meeting. Thank you.
October Matthew Blum's Unsung Hero Award will be awarded to Gabrielle Spafford. As a senior, Gabrielle has contributed a great amount of assistance to the school during her 4 years. Not only is she always happy to help with SGA events, but she is always a reliable and efficient student. Gabrielle stands out in her community with all of her brilliant ideas she brings to SGA. In addition to Gabrielle's helpful hand, she has also created Fashion Club during her junior year. This club had a significant outcome with student support. Within Fashion Club, she organizes crafts for each meeting, has snacks available, and plans trip. Gabby also plays on the school softball team. She has been playing softball for the high school since her freshman year. Outside of school, Gabrielle is following her dreams and has begun to launch her own fashion brand, producing various types of clothing and accessories. Gabby will be in Fashion 4 this year, where her passion for designing had sparked. Congratulations, Gabby, and keep up the great work.
All right, thank you, Jacob and Kylie. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dr. Clark for the report of the superintendent.
Thank you, President Giordano. Can everybody hear me? Yep? Okay. All right. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Jake. Congratulations, Gabby. And I think, Gabby, your family's here, so a round of applause to your family. Can you stand up and be recognized? Okay, welcome to the October board meeting. Hard to believe we're here. It's almost Halloween. Summer's over, although we're still going to be talking about summer a little bit later. Congratulations again to Gabby. Great work. I want to draw your attention once again to our beautiful artwork. Third grader James Fascioli, kindergartner Gage Richards, and fourth grader Julia Dixon are this month's artists, and once again they did a fabulous job, and their artwork will be hanging in the board office. So a round of applause to them. We have quite a few presentations tonight, and I imagine that's why we have so many students in the audience. I'm looking around, so that's really great news. Mr. Decker is going to be presenting the Student Achievement Report tonight, and Mrs. Amos and several of the supervisors are going to be presenting, and I think a raffle's involved in there, right, Mrs. Amos? The summer Navy Nation Summer Reading Program. But before we do that, I just want to go back to strategic planning. So back on October 1st, we had our community kickoff, and it was fantastically attended, and I want to send a kudos out to Kathy Weinkoff, who's our New Jersey School Board's field representative who assisted with the presentation. So the process is going to continue on November 20th when the state of the schools and the state of the community committees get together, and they're going to meet for the first time, and that's really when we're going to get strategic planning going. One of the questions that came up at the community kickoff was a question about our previous 2015-2018 strategic plan. And if you're interested in taking a look at that, that plan is still posted on our website under About Us. If you click on strategic plan, you're going to see the previous plan, and as work continues on the new plan, information will be added there as well. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight is that in the process of developing the 2015-2018 strategic plan, 4 goal areas were developed, and those areas were student achievement and success for all, technology, family and community, and finances and facilities. And so if you take a look at that plan, you're going to see that 55 strategic targets were developed within the 4 goal areas. And I'm very happy to report that more than 90% of those strategic targets were met. And some examples, and you'll be able to see those if you take a look. Some of the examples that I wanted to talk about is, under goal achievement and success for all, was to maintain favorable class sizes, and we have worked very hard on that. Develop intervention programs for at-risk learners. Develop partnerships with local colleges and universities, and we have done that with Ocean County College, with Fairleigh Dickinson, and the list goes on and on. Strengthen strategic focus, and we're continuing the strategic plan. Under technology, sustain one-to-one initiative by providing access to all students. So we've continued to expand one-to-one. Expanded STEM programs, and we've done that at the high school, at the middle school, at Mill Pond. Develop and promote social media awareness and responsible use are just some examples under technology. Under family and the goal of family in our community, nurture an open and welcoming environment at the school and district levels. And as you know, this past September, we presented visitor management protocols, and we knew that that was going to be a shift, and I think that we've been very successful in continuing to maintain that nurturing and caring environment despite having to trump up our security protocols. And then under finance, and again, the list goes on, I'm just giving you some examples, plan and implement facilities upgrades. And that list is very lengthy, but we've been working very hard on the upkeep of our facilities. And under finance, also, establish priorities and budget with fidelity to ensure that priorities are met, and we will continue to do that. So those are just some examples of the goal targets that we did achieve, and for the ones that we did not, we will look to include them in the next process of strategic planning. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and I wanted to talk about the next process, the next steps in the process that will continue on November 20th, and we're looking forward to it. Okay, I think it's time to get started on some of our presentations, and we are going to start with our Seniors of the Month. I don't see Mr. Brandes, but I know he's around here, so there he is. And then we'll move on to the Lacy Minute. So, Board, if we want to...
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight. Congratulations again to Ms. Spafford for being the unsung hero, and to her family. Abby, congratulations again. It is one of the best parts of the meeting. I get to celebrate the seniors of the month, and the first senior I'd like to congratulate is Samantha Swain. Congratulations to her and her family for being senior of the month. We're going to watch a short video on her accomplishments at Lacy Township High School. Hello, we're back here to celebrate the seniors of the month. The next recipient, Daniel McClung.
Hi, I'm Dan McClung, and I'm proud to be October Senior of the Month.
Dan is always one who actually has an extreme passion for math and has always used it in every project he's ever made. I cannot tell you how proud I am of all of his accomplishments thus far, and I cannot wait to see what he does when he gets into college.
I've gotten involved in a lot of different activities here at Lacy, such as SGA, TV Club, and the business clubs. I also work at an aftercare center where I could tutor kids almost every day after school.
When he thought 5 last year for his AP exam, he actually did get a 5, and plus he got 800 on his overall math SAT. One of the things that I would believe is the biggest accomplishment thus far in his high school career.
My favorite memory from Lacy...
And October's Vocational Senior of the Month.
Wait a second.
Hello, we're back here to celebrate the seniors of the month. The next recipient, Daniel. Hello, we're back here to celebrate the seniors of the month. The next recipient, Daniel McClung.
Hi, I'm Dan McClung, and I'm proud to be October Senior.
And October.
Hold on. Why don't we just bring Daniel up first? Now we're good. We made a little adjustment. Oh, wait a minute. We might be switching back here. All right, Daniel, sit back down.
Hello, I'm Greg Brandes, principal of Lacy Township High School, and we're here to celebrate the seniors of the month for October. The first recipient, Samantha Swain.
Hi, my name is Samantha Swain, and I'm proud to be October Senior.
Hello, I'm Greg Brandes, principal of Lacy Township High School, and we're here to celebrate the seniors of the month for October. The first recipient, Samantha Swain.
Hi, my name is Samantha Swain, and I'm proud to be October Senior of the Month.
Congratulations to Samantha Swain for earning Senior of the Month for October 2019.
I've challenged myself academically by being in LAH since my sophomore year and being in 5 AP classes.
Sam Swain is a member of the Leadership Academy of Humanities, the first cohort, so she had a very big hand in creating the success of the Academy. Sam is also a member of Navy Nation. She's a varsity cheerleader, and she is part of Lacy Kids for a Cure for children with childhood cancer. Sam does amazing things in the community. We're so proud of her, and we're really going to miss her. Congratulations, Sam. I know you'll be successful in everything you do.
Some activities I've been involved with are varsity cheerleading, NHS. I'm an ambassador for Alex's Lemonade Stand. I'm the president of Navy Nation. I'm the president of Antlers, and I am in Interact.
Sam is also my president for Navy Nation. She also is a peer mediation facilitator. She's my go-to for that. She is extremely helpful. She's highly motivated both in and out of school. Her involvement with clubs in school, with activities outside of school, everything is very community-centered. She's really just an all-around fantastic student.
One of my favorite memories in high school was running Dance for a Cure, which we brought studios in from all over town, and we raised money for Oceans of Love.
How you've evolved as a student and a person over the last 3 years has been fun to watch. It's been fun to be a part of, and we couldn't be prouder of you for this achievement. Congratulations.
After high school, I'm planning to be a criminal psychologist, and I'm planning to apply to Rowan University and Drew University.
participating. Daniel McClung, congratulations. Now we're going to watch, again, Daniel McClung.
Hello, we're back here to celebrate the seniors of the month. The next recipient, Daniel McClung.
Hi, I'm Dan McClung, and I'm proud to be October Senior of the Month.
Dan is always one who actually has an extreme passion for math and has always used it in every project he's ever made. I cannot tell you how proud I am of all of his accomplishments thus far, and I cannot wait to see what he does when he gets into college.
I've gotten involved in a lot of different activities here at Lacy, such as SGA, TV club, and the business clubs. I also work at an aftercare center where I can tutor kids almost every day after school.
When he thought 5 last year for his AP exam, he actually did get a 5. And plus he got 800 on his overall math SAT. One of the things that I would believe is the biggest accomplishment thus far in his high school career.
My favorite memory from Lacy High School is when Jake Serrano and I broke the record for most views on a single sports broadcast with WLTS.
I've had Dan in class for 3 years in a row. He's a top performer. He's always worried about getting the right answer. He's very competitive in that way, and that served him well through the years. He's in AP Calculus 2 right now, which few people in Lacy get to. I've been very successful up to this point.
Throughout my years here at Lacy High School, I've challenged myself by taking a lot of hard classes and getting involved in as many clubs and activities as I could.
I remember this one time when Dan had his ankle broken because he was trying to do some parkour, but it led to his new passion, which is going to be getting me out to American Ninja Warrior to see him compete in the year 2020.
Some of my favorite classes here at Lacy were Pre-Calc and Calc AB with Mr. Laramie. I also really liked AP Statistics with Mr. Geiger, even though it was really a challenge for me. But both of those classes really made me want to do something involved with math in my future.
And for our Vocational Senior of the Month, I'd like to congratulate and welcome up Michael Spina, and congratulations to his family as well. We'll also watch it briefly.
And October's Vocational Senior of the Month, Michael Spina.
Hi, I'm Michael Spina, and I'm October's Vocational Student of the Month.
Congratulations, Mike, on becoming Vocational Student of the Month for October. You deserve it, buddy.
I'm involved in the swim team, and I have been for the past 4 years, and just starting last year I've done tennis outside of school. I'm volunteer EMS, and I've done volunteering at the food bank throughout high school.
I've had Michael as a student his freshman year. I have him currently right now as a junior year in U.S. History 2, as well as on the swim team.
I'm trying to take honors and AP classes all throughout high school and through vocational school. Both of those count as college classes, so they weight as AP, and they have the difficulty to go along with it.
Michael's hardworking, and he's very sincere in all of his endeavors, and we're really excited to have him back again for a senior year on a swim team, and maybe with this year win a title.
Most of my favorite memories in high school are honestly probably of swimming, because even though we're waking up at 4 a.m., it's still an enjoyable experience and having the team experience.
I've had the pleasure of having Mike in class his entire junior year and the first part of his senior year. He's a hard worker, he's diligent, he's funny, he contributes to the class through discussion and his general kindness, and he does have a slight obsession with parrots.
In college, I hope to study computer science for 4 years as an undergraduate, and then hopefully go on to law school to be a patent attorney.
Congratulations to all the seniors here tonight and their remarkable accomplishments, and also congratulations to all the students who will be receiving acknowledgement here tonight as well. Thank you.
All right. Hopefully the order is correct, Mr. Light? Okay. So, very happy to present our October Lacy Minute. And before we play that, Mr. Lytle, just a reminder to our staff and even our parents, if there's anything great, any videos, any events that you've been to and you want to share the video, I'm going to provide I think it's already on our website, the email to send it to, because we can never have enough. And you're going to see in our video some of the great clips. So we're ready. Mr. Merman and his students for doing an amazing job. Every month they seem to outdo each other on these videos. So please send in your videos, your photos, and we'll continue the Lacy minute and a half, which is what I think we're up to. All right. Okay, so once again, congratulations to our seniors of the month, our unsung hero, and let's continue to congratulate some of our elementary students. So as I mentioned earlier, summer is in the rearview mirror, but tonight we are going to recognize some students for some amazing summer reading, and like I said, there's a couple raffles there involved in our presentation. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mrs. Michelle Amos, Elementary District Supervisor, and I know you're going to be joined with some colleagues, Mrs. Amos, to do your presentation.
She doesn't fall down the steps. So I am very excited to welcome all of our Summer Reading Navy Nation students this evening. In order to be a part of the Navy Nation, you have to read a minimum of 32 hours, and I know that many of you exceeded that, and you should be very proud of yourselves. Parents, kudos to you for being their encourager and for being the ones to get them to the school to pick up their paws. Reading is probably the most important thing that you can do for a lifetime. At this time, I'm going to ask your principals to come down one at a time. We're going to recognize each and every one of you with a certificate for your being a part of Navy Nation. And then after that, each principal is going to, at the conclusion of reading their list, they're going to draw a name. Each school will have one student win a fire tablet and a case, and those were donated by the Lacy Township Administrators Association. So at this time, I'm going to invite Mr. Fiedler down first.
Good evening, everyone, and we are very proud of all of our students who participated in the summer reading program, but especially our students who achieved that Navy level. So what I'm going to do is call our students down. I'm going to ask them to stand in the front here. I'll present them with their certificates. We'll take a picture, and then I will choose, or we'll have someone choose, our winner. So to begin, congratulations to Jake Jackson. Cole Leadham. Good job, Cole. Go right there. Perfect. Thea Mitchell. Avery Newman. So Avery is homesick today, but her big sister Sarah is standing in her place. Forked River School graduate, thank you for doing that for your sister Sarah. Kendall Riggleman. Braylon Sabolchek. Logan Staub. Cole Weiland. Cole, are you here? No? All right. Would you like Dr. Clark to choose our winner?
Oh, sure.
Good luck. And the winner is...
Ooh, it's heavy.
It's heavy. Braylon Sabolchek.
Good job, guys.
All right, at this time I would like to introduce the Lenoka Harbor School Administration, Mrs. Kilmary.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to congratulate the Lenoka Harbor School Navy Nation Paul winners for this summer reading program. It was so pleasurable to see the children come in absolutely excited in the summer to have their reading log signed off on and to be able to win their tags, and that excitement continues because these tags are hanging on their backpacks and they're showing them off to all the other students in the school. So I'm really very, very proud of them, and I want to thank the parents for taking the time to read with them and to bring them in this summer. Thank you. Okay, boys and girls, when I call your names, please come down just as Forked River School students did. Briella Batone. Brody Boyce. Madeline Diadamo. Just all the way at the top. Bradley Edgecombe. Joshua Lee. That's how excited he was every day this summer, too. Grace Liebman. Kyan Smith. And Kyan was always the first one there. We started at 8 o'clock, he was there at 7:59. And Christian Tritola.
Awesome work, awesome work.
And next, Cedar Creek.
Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for everybody coming out tonight. And just as Mr. Fiedler and Mrs. Kilmurray stated, we are so excited that so many students participated in the reading program. There's nothing more important that you can do with your children than is to read with them. So in the wise words of Dr. Seuss, the more you read, the more you know, and the more you read, the more places you will go, boys and girls. So I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Donahue to call the names, as the supervisors were the ones who really made this program something special for the kids over the summer. And Mrs. Donahue was very excited and made a huge deal every time the kids came in to get their awards for their backpacks and all of that. So it was very exciting. So it was a lot of fun to watch all summer long, and keep reading.
Okay, are we ready, Creekers? We have Jacob Boyle. Zoe Bruckman. Ben Berlew. Victoria Madison. Brody McGauley. Molly McGurk. Olivia Morris. Shaylin Moselle. Beatrice Perry. Kaylin Porter. There she is. I thought I saw her. Yeah. Kaylee Rose. Brody Sloda. Vaughn Sloda. Aiden Tallman. No. Mackenzie Taylor. Emma Charnas. Bernard Whitworth. Lucy Wortley. And that's our group. And next we have our Mill Pond winners.
Well, congratulations to all of our award winners. I think the smiles on the faces can tell it all. So how about a big round of applause for all of our award winners so far? All right, I'm Mr. O'Neill. I'm the supervisor of instruction. This is Mrs. Nemec, our proud principal. Just wanted to thank all of the staff members and the families at the lower elementaries for instilling such a love of reading and a love of literacy to all of the students that we now have at Mill Pond. So we're going to start inviting our students up, and we'll start with Ian Bruckerman. Landon Klein. Zachary Lodge. Alexander Riley. Magnolia Soel. Kaylin Tallman. John Tomriddle. And Isabella Weiland. All right, just like the other schools, we're going to take a picture as well, and then we'll have Dr. Clark pick the winner. The grand prize winner for Mill Pond is Isabella Weiland. Isabella wasn't able to join us tonight, but we'll make sure that she gets her prize tomorrow. One more time, parents, friends, and family, please help me congratulate our Mill Pond Navy level readers. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Once again, congratulations to all of our students, and I'm going to probably give you about 10 seconds right now if you want to go home, do homework, read,
Go to
read,
sleep.
go to, yep, homework, read.
Video games. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
My point is, congratulations. I thought you would stay.
We have time.
She's yawning over there. I'm laughing. She's like looking at me. I'm like laughing. Congratulations.
Congratulations, you won. Good stuff. I love that. I have one. I love it.
You just got to pay taxes on that, you know, when you win prizes. Congratulations, everybody.
Congrats. Thanks for coming.
All the kids that didn't have to catch up.
Congratulations. Thanks for coming. Seriously.
Congratulations, good job.
Good night. Congratulations.
Who's the unsung hero? What is it?
Let me double check for you.
Thank you.
It's right here.
Thank you.
I'm sharing with an LTE.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we have 2 more presentations, but before we do that, just another, and I know there's not a lot of us left, but just for everybody who's going to be watching, another round of applause and congratulations to all those summer readers. Because several of the administrators said it best. If we start reading, if our kids start reading at an early age, they become lifelong readers, and it's so, so important. I know I was a lifelong reader, and I still love it to this day. Of course, I never won an iPad or, what was it called, a Kindle Fire. But it was still good to do. So thank you to the Administrators Association for donating those. Tablets, thank you. I'm an iPad person, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you, that was amazing. Okay, now we're going to transition. Every October, we present the Student Achievement Report, and Mr. Decker and the district supervisors worked very hard on this presentation, and I'm going to ask the board to swing around, and then that will be followed by Mr. DeGeorge's presentation on Part 2 of the school budget. Yeah, I would recommend it.
Okay, good evening. Today we're going to take a look at the Student Assessment Achievement Report from the state and some aggregated data. The first two slides demonstrate English, language arts, and math. English on your left, math on your right. And it's a comparative slide with regard to the state averages and how Lacy fares. Lacy is in the green. So Lacy Township Schools has an achievement slightly above the state averages in some areas and some grade levels, but also has equivalency to state averages and also demonstrates below state averages in other areas and grade levels. As you can see there, specifically, on the bottom grid, you could see third grade to the left of each subject, English and math, going across the grades. We could see specifically in language arts, areas of focus include 5th grade, 6th, 9th, and 10th. And in mathematics, areas of focus include 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. If we take a look at a 3-year comparison with regard to the NJSLA in Lacy Township, this is just Lacy students, 3-year comparison, we could see growth in grades 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10 over the past year. And in some cases, over the past 3 years, we've seen steady growth. We have seen a dip in 5th grade, slightly, about 3 percentage points. And if we take a look at the sub-scores, now this is the subcategories that are within the NJSLA. We could see that we have identified some at-risk subcategories. You could see them highlighted there, focus on at-risk readers. Where they do fall below a 50 percentile marker, that's in literary text, informational text, and vocabulary. With regard to the writing, that is above the 50% marker, as you can see the scores there. So our focus that we have is going to be specifically on reading right now for this year. We could see in middle school over the past 5 years that there's been an increase indicated by the yellow arrows. So 5 years ago, we're in a much better place than what we were 5 years ago. We do have an increase from last year as well in some of the subcategories, with the exception of writing expression, which is about the same. If we take a look at high school, we could see that there has been some growth in reading. It's been kind of up and down, but we have had a big jump in reading and vocabulary. We have had a slight increase from last year comparative to the informational text category, as well as the reading literary text. With regard to writing, we see that writing has been static or decreased over the past 5 years. So that's an area that we need to focus on. If we take a look at the NJSLA 3-year comparison for mathematics, we could see grades 3, 4, geometry, and algebra 2 demonstrate an increase, with static scores or slight decreases in other grades. So we need to focus in on those other grades. You could see grade 6 has a dip, grade 7. We do have an increase in 3, 4, again, as I said, and geometry, algebra 2. The algebra 2 increase is actually reflective of the state requirement of only having 9th and 10th graders taking the assessment, as opposed to previous years that 11th graders also took that assessment. So that score is reflective of only 9th and 10th graders taking it per the state. If we take a look at our math sub-scores, we could see that elementary school over the past 5 years has demonstrated growth internally. Again, these are internal scores, not comparative to state. But internally, we could see that there's been a growth over the past 5 years, where we were 5 years ago to where we are now. Good size growth in most subcategories. Middle school has demonstrated some growth in areas, but has also static growth in additional and subtracting content, modeling application. But major content, we do see an increase. The high school math subscores, we could see we've had steady growth over the past 5 years, comparative to where we were 5 years ago. Major content was 11% to now 26%. That's a big jump. Over the past 2 years, we do demonstrate growth except for modeling and application. We see a little dip, but none that is a significant statistical difference with regard to the difference in the percentage rate. But we do see a little dip there. Okay, the middle school. So grade 7 math, we need to work on. The New Jersey average was 42%. We were 33%. It's an area we need to focus on. Algebra 1 did great in middle school, 92%. The New Jersey average that we have there is 64%. That includes middle school and high school students. Our geometry in middle school is 92% proficiency. The New Jersey average was 64%. So we did very well there. With regard to the high school, we could see that Algebra 2 scores, we were 65%. The state was 64%. So we're pretty much in line with the state. But we had a great increase from last year. You could see that Algebra 2 last year was 39%. So we had a nice jump there. Geometry, we have to take a look at and focus on. 56%. State average is 64% in geometry. Now, when we take a look at our grade 8 math, they did very well. State average was 29%. Lacy was 32%. This is a 12% increase from last year with regard to grade 8 math. So that was a nice jump. One of the things that I wanted to do was to just point out a lot of the scores that we're talking about tonight are averages of the district. So individual schools may be much different, okay? One thing that we wanted to look at was students who were approaching, who did not necessarily meet the cut score with regard to proficiency, but were approaching. They met the approaching cut score. Now, when we take a look across the grade levels from 3 to 10, and we average that out, we have an average in language arts in Lacy of 23% approaching. So we need to focus on that. As you can see, 7th and 8th grade did well in language arts, so they have less students approaching because more students were meeting. If we look at the same type of trend, we could see that we have 27% students approaching in math as well. And going back to the slides 2 slides ago in the middle school, how we did very well in Algebra 1 and geometry, you could see it's a very low approaching scores here because there was a lot of proficient in those 2 categories. But overall, the average of Lacy, we have a 20% average rate of approaching. So one of the things that we want to do in the district is to focus on approaching students who are approaching the cut score to meet proficiency standard. Those would be considered at-risk students who we're concerned about because we want to get them over that fence, so to speak, to meet the standard proficiency. So in other words, if the cut score for the state was 750 and a student received a 749, they're approaching. They're not proficient or meeting standard, just to give a perspective with regard to how it's done. If we continue with our look at subgroups, we look at female and male comparative to the state. You could see that the subgroups display patterns that are consistent with the state, with the exception of grades 6 and 9 males in language arts scores, where we do see a greater decrease than the state average. For example, 34% in 6th grade, where the state would be 48%, and in 9th grade, 33%, where the state would be 49%. So there's a dip. By the same token, we could see females, 7th and 8th grade, they increase their scores compared to the state in grades 7 and 8. You could see that their scores go up, 76 comparative to 71, and 81 compared to 71. So the females do well the girl students in grade 7 and 8. When we take a look at the subgroupings for gender in mathematics, we also see a pattern that's consistent with the state. Although in some areas we are below the state average, we do see dips or declines in percentage proficiency that matches the pattern of the state. The male number, as you can see again in grade 6, goes down greater than the state, and in grade 7, but it jumps back up when we go into Algebra 1, and we start to follow this trend of the state. The whole state actually has a dip beginning in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and 8th grade. It's very interesting when you start to separate all this data and look at everything across the state. When we look at our subgroups with regard to ethnicity, we don't really have large reporting sections of subgroups. Normally you have to have 21 students or greater. I did calculate our subgroups, even though we didn't have 21 students or greater, with regard to Hispanic, Asian, Black, American African, and white. We could see that we have a proficiency rate ranging anywhere between 23% and 100%. But specifically with regard to Hispanic and Latino population, the ELA state average is 43%, Lacy Township is 42% proficiency rate. When we take a look at math, it's the same thing. We don't have a large number of reporting subgroups with regard to ethnicity and race, but we do have a range that I calculated here. So we have a proficiency range anywhere from 14% to 100% in certain subgroups, but we're talking about there could be maybe two students or 3 students. But with regard to reporting a larger group of 21 or greater, the Hispanic Latino subgroup in math, we are equal with the state at 27% proficiency. When we continue to look at other subgroups, economically disadvantaged, comparative to the state. Economically disadvantaged students perform above state average in ELA with the exception of 5th, 6th, and 9th grade. So again, we have a dip here in these grade levels. That was a pattern that we saw established before with the subgroupings of male and female. When we continue with our economically disadvantaged subgroup in math, we could see here that math is above or equivalent to the state averages with the exception of 7th grade, where we have a little dip here of 2%. But you can see in these other, again, these other grade levels across the board, we are sometimes a little higher, sometimes a lot higher than the state average. When we continue with our subgroups, we move on to special education, student with disabilities. You can see that we perform slightly below the state average in this category, and the grade levels 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We do perform better in grade 8 than the state, and as well as in grade 10. We do have a little bump in 9th grade, but again, 1% is not a statistical significant difference. Pretty much we're in line with the state. Again, a dip here as we see that kind of being established in all the subgroups. When we take a look at the math with students with disability subgroups, you can see that we are a little below in some of these areas. 3rd grade is above state average, 2%. We kind of take a dip here. We come down in these grade levels again, and then we come up here in Algebra 1, geometry. Algebra 2, really, this is not a good data point, to be honest, because the sample group is so small for Lacy that it really isn't a fair comparative to a state average, because we had a small number of students who were in that sample group. The DLM, which is the dynamic learning maps. Let me explain that for a moment. The dynamic learning maps are assessments that are designed for students with most significant cognitive disabilities for whom general state assessments would be inappropriate. So when we take the DLMs in Lacy, you could see here a 3-year comparison that last year we did very well. The New Jersey state average for DLM was 32%. Lacy did 53. Math, 21% state average, 28 in Lacy for students that took the DLM, the dynamic learning maps. And again, those are for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities that would not be appropriately placed by taking the NJSLA. I just wanted to explain for a moment the difference between a criterion reference test and a norm reference test, because some people may not understand that, and I think it's very important to understand. The NJSLA is a criterion reference test. It's kind of like a driving test. When you go to take your driving test, you have to make a left turn, you have to pull the left blinker. That's the criteria. Or pull the right blinker if you're making a right-hand turn. There's a criteria involved. So a criterion reference test are tests that compare a person's knowledge or skill against a predetermined standard. The criteria is referenced by tests, and each person's performance is compared directly to that standard, not to other students, but to just that specific standard and how they perform against it. And they have cutoff scores. They have cutoff scores that place students into categories such as basic, approaching, proficient, or advanced. Now, a normed reference test measures and compares a person's knowledge or skill to the knowledge and skills of a norm group, meaning a comparative group. Third graders compared to third graders across the country. Okay? So, and it's a large sample size. It's not like comparing 100 kids. We're talking thousands of students. So the composition of a norm group depends on the assessment, but for student assessments, the norm group is often nationally represented by a sample of several thousand or greater in the same grade at the same point of the school year. So it's a real good comparative. Where are students comparative to their peers at certain times in the year? Like, for example, spring or fall when they take the assessment. How are other students who take this norm reference test faring? So when we take a look at our NWEA map assessments, which is a norm reference test against other students who take it throughout the country, we could see that we meet or exceed a national norm. And you could see that is highlighted in the red brackets. The beginning of the year is norm data of the large scale sample group, and the one to the right is the end of the year norm data. So we are in the green. So as you can see, our numbers for reading, K to 9, represent meeting or exceeding those normed standards when compared to peers across the country. When we take a look at the NWEA map assessment 3 to 9, again, we could see that we have a higher score. Now, some of them are close, and some are, we take a look at this, for example, 5th grade, end of the year, the national norm was 221.4, we were 220. So it's a 1.4 percentage difference. Our 225 in 6th grade, 0.3, and 225 for Lacy. That is not a statistical significant difference with regard to a comparative data, 0.3%. Moving on, we take a look at our PSAT scores. It's kind of tricky because PSAT is a college readiness benchmark that it tells us if students are on track to meet a benchmark to graduate. But it's very difficult, though, because when students take the PSAT, they may not think that it's an important test. It's just kind of like a practice test. So they may not really be taking it too seriously. But you can see that we meet, 55% of our students meet the 10th grade expectation for language. 11th grade, 57% meet that expectation. In mathematics, we don't fare so well here. 33% in 10th grade, and 11th grade, 30%. So we need to look at that. But what's interesting is when they take the actual SAT mean score, our total is 1067. Comparative to the state, we are below the state average, but we are above the national mean average in total score. In reading, we're below the state mean by 4, but we're above the national mean. In math, 527, we're below the state mean. We're about equal to the national mean. So we need to take a look at our math in the SAT area, because that's what is going to bring this particular total score up. Because the reading, we're pretty close to the state mean. When we take a look at our advanced placement scores, over the past 5 years, from 2015 to 2019, we've had a 23.5% increase in the percent of total AP students with scores of 3+. So I think that's a great accomplishment. When we take a look at our total AP students, 134. So we went up from 106 last year to 134. Kind of jumps up and down, as you can see, but we have a good number here, 134. But this is a really good number, that the total number of exams is 227. Last year was 203. College acceptance. Over 5 years, we've had a 9% increase in college acceptance. For four-year college, it was an increase from 31% to 40%. And in two-year colleges, it was a 2% increase from 42 to 44. And as you can see by the next slide, our students attend, we have a very diversified college placement. As you can see here, we've listed some of the universities and colleges that our students go on to be successful in. You can see Rutgers, Virginia Tech, Penn State, Pace University, Ramapo. You can read this, Stockton, Villanova, Kutztown University, Rider College, Rider University, Kane University. So it's a very diverse group of schools that our students continue to further their education. When we take a look at the Lacy Township High School Ocean College Academy, 36 juniors and 15 seniors are now getting a jump start on college education. So right now, those students are participating in earning college credits to earn an associate's degree. So students enrolled in this program, they receive credit from their classes from Lacy Township High School that are attached to Ocean County College. If they complete 60 credits, they'll receive an associate's degree from Ocean County College while they're still in high school. I think that's wonderful. Tuition is offered at a reduced rate, and this is very important for those that strive and take advantage of this. Families can save money. That's a great thing. Families can save money, and kids can get a jump start on their college education. All the classes that are taught in this program are by Lacy Township High School teachers who are also certified adjuncts at Ocean County College. Okay, so they are certified adjunct instructors for Ocean County College. We take a look at some of our elementary points of pride. We continue the development of a tiered support system and an IRS process for at-risk students. As I mentioned earlier, we want to focus on our at-risk students who are approaching that proficient mark. The implementation of Caring School Community in grades K to 6. We've implemented a new phonemic awareness program in K to 2 entitled Words Their Way. Lenoka Harbor, a nice point to bring out, received $2,000 in Sustainable School Grant and is certified as a bronze level school. Cedar Creek earned $40,000 last year. It was a wonderful accomplishment through PepsiCo for recycling rally grant. Forked River is currently in the second year of a Tier 3 intervention pilot program that they implement at their school. And Mill Pond has implemented a STEM maker space for all students, which is a great, I'm hearing great things about that. When we take a look at our middle school, we have English Language Arts Honors Program, 3 sections. Our STEM sections have expanded. We have Inclusive Special Education Program in 7th and 8th grade, where special ed students are not being pulled out of their classroom, but serviced in the classroom. So special education teachers go into the classroom more. It's been very successful. We have the founding of our Junior National Honor Society this year, the first year. And the students also have full-day access to one-to-one devices throughout the day, which is great. They can bring it to every class, a Chromebook. So the tech is really kicked up, and that's a really great thing. So kids can bring this to every class, and they just have this to use. So some of the high school points of pride. 22 students last year graduated with both an associate's degree from Ocean County College and a high school diploma from Lacy High School. It's awesome. We have an AP US Government that was added for the 2019-20 school year, new class. A dropout prevention program that was created to support the needs of at-risk students. And a Leadership and Humanities Academy that exists in all the grades at the high school and will graduate its first class in the spring of 2020. It's an exciting new program. So some final thoughts when we look back at all this data, because it's a lot of stuff. First of all, we need to really celebrate the growth that we've had. Although the achievement may not be far surpassing state standards, internally we have demonstrated growth, and that's a positive thing, because that means we're getting higher. And we're going to keep focusing on that. We're going to keep focusing on the at-risk students who are approaching. They need to get pushed over that fence so that our numbers do jump up. That's important. That's vital. We need to focus on combined growth in the areas of language arts and math. We need to continue to focus on increasing achievement in the state measured areas of content. We need to continue to focus on that. We need to continue to expand program opportunities, such as the ones that I gave here tonight in the Points of Pride. We need to continue to address student absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism is a direct relation to student performance and achievement. And we're going to be coming out with a spotlight on education about that, because it's vital for parents to understand kids need to get to school, right? Because it does really, truly affect achievement. And ultimately, we need to continue to improve the programs that provide students to meet their full potential. We need to continue to meet children where they can grow to their full potential. That's the most important thing we could do as a school system. These are the dates for the 2019-2020 federal and state assessments. This is on our website, so you can go look at this. I included this slide just so we could take a quick look. The tests are going to range from April to May. There is a test, I think, in February. So this is on our website. You could see the grade levels, the times, how long they last, what subjects they will be tested in, and the months. And that concludes the presentation on the Lacy Township Achievement and Assessment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Decker. That was a lot of data, a lot of compilation. This presentation will be on our website, as will the assessment calendar. So I can't thank you enough, from district supervisors as well, for putting all of that data together. And now we're going to completely shift gears and part 2 of the school budget. Good?
All right, good evening, everyone. Just another round of applause for Mr. Decker and the administrative team. I sat through this earlier today. A lot of data, a lot of exciting things happening, so congratulations once again. All right, just another 45 minutes and we'll be good. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. So for those who have seen this for the past few years, each September and October, we make a presentation in 2 parts that outline the school district budget. It's kind of still early in the budget build process, but we do this because starting next month, a lot of things are going to start happening. A lot of conversations are going to be happening around budget at the board meetings. So a quick review of part one. Budgeting is 12 months. We talked about a plan, a number of terms we used last time, and again, part one is on our website if you want to take a look at that. 3 steps to creating a budget: revenue, appropriations, and unlike the federal government, ours needs to balance. The board has a very important role, but now we're going to talk about managing a budget. So we've created our budget. What do we do with it? There's ongoing oversight every single day. We review purchasing every month. You'll see on our agendas tonight. Budget transfers, list of bills, some balance sheets and income statements we're going to talk about in a bit, cash flow, discussions ongoing, and then annual review is our annual audit. So let's talk about oversight. Every time we talk about budget, we give you laws and rules so that you can go back and reference to that. We're not doing it because we want to, we're doing it because we have to, and there are laws and rules that govern it. So every day, the business office folks, under the direction of our assistant business administrator, Miss Sylvia, they perform a daily and detailed review of every single purchasing request. And we just had purchasing training for our purchasing manual, which all of our district administrators, I have to say, are doing an excellent job of purchasing things. Transfers. Again, laws and rules. 2 facts, and here they are. Budgets are plans, and plans change all the time. So when things change within our budget plan, we have to move the money to where the new need arises. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of conversation to try to determine this new thing pops up that we didn't anticipate. Well, what do we do now? What do we have to live without because we can't create more money? But so we transfer. You'll see that on every single agenda that we put out. The list of bills. We spend the money, and every single month the board is asked to approve the payment of our bills. It's a cycle, right? We talked about this a little bit the last time. We appropriate money in a budget for a certain line item. We lock it up by encumbering it. We spend the money. We have the list of bills tonight that the board will approve on a board agenda, and then we pay the vendors. Here's a list of bills from last month. So I'm going to go through this I guess I'm not. Am I not? Mr. Lytle, is this working? Where is he at? Ah, there you go. So this is the bills list from July. And you can see, and I'll try to blow it up a little bit, there's every single vendor that we're going to pay is listed on there. Every detail about the purchase order, what account it's being charged to, what it's really for, the invoices, and the amount. So it's detailed. It's a very long document that goes all the way down. Let's see now. Again. So it comes to a total that by fund and by vendor. So it's very, very detailed. We're not making anything up. It's on every single agenda that we publish, including tonight. You can take a look at it. Where are we at there? Okay, so we're going to switch. All right. S1701. That's a funny legal name for financial statements. So every single fund, the general operating budget, the special revenue, grants budget, the debt service budget, every single major fund has a balance sheet and income statement. So we're going to take a look at that. This alone, we could talk for an hour, a serious hour. So you'll see that, and we'll look at Fund 10. A balance sheet. For those financial wizards out there, you'll know that a balance sheet has assets, it has some liabilities, and it has fund balance. Every single fund is what we own, assets, liabilities, what we owe, and what the district is worth, what equity the district has by each fund type. So if we go down, we'll talk, and these are interim statements. It's very important that these are pro forma statements month to month that really get audited at the end of the year and published in our audit report. But that was the balance sheet. This is the income statement side, right? Revenue, where are we getting our revenue from? And the expenditures by account. Very detailed, and it goes on for pages and pages and pages. That's some of the higher level. Here's some of the more detail, and it keeps getting more detailed as we keep going through this income statement. And then there you go, more detail by type, what we spent on security, what we spent on transportation, every single account. Okay. And then we sign it and we submit it to the state. Same thing, Fund 20, Fund 30, Fund 40, Fund 90. All of these have their own balance sheet and income statement. Cash flow. It's very important to understand that over the past several years, this board has taken a lot of steps to improve cash flow. There was a time we were kind of struggling with that, but those who understand business know that the liquidity that we have on cash is paramount. And we've made a lot of good financial maneuvers to make sure that our cash flow is very, very strong. They're able to pay our bills as they become due and not have to worry about that anymore. When we create the budget between our district and the administrators, that's not the first and only time we talk. We're always talking, right? Mrs. Amos and I are always talking about grant funds, Mr. Bond, and we're talking all the time about, well, what are we doing? What do we decide to do of that plan we made? What can we do better? And we're always striving to do better. All right, the annual review, the audit. Again, rules and standards and all kinds of things that say what we're supposed to have. The audit of the 18-19 school year is complete. We're awaiting the issuance of a draft report that we can take a look at. And either in November, probably December, we will have the auditor come and present the final budget report to you. Just as the board had a role in creating budget, the board has a very important role in managing the budget. So they hire experts to do this work, and it's very, very highly skilled work, and hire an auditor to make sure that those people they hired within the district are being looked at. Understand how central office is managed and how to manage the budget. Review and approve all the things we see on every agenda every month. Review and approve the audit, and importantly, and we're talking about this all the time, mostly at the financial committee level, but really across the board, we're talking about the issues and how to keep the board informed. And believe it or not, that's it. Both Part 1 and Part 2 are on the district website under the business office or finance and operations. You'll be able to navigate there. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we thank you for your attention. All right, there you go. See, I got that.
Okay, that was a lot of presentation. So thank you, Mr. Decker. Thank you, Mr. DeGeorge. And once again, congratulations to our seniors of the month, Samantha, Dan, and Michael, our unsung hero, Gabrielle, and congratulations to all of our amazing summer readers. That concludes my comments. Thank you, President Giordano.
All right, thank you, Dr. Clark, and everyone else for your very informative reports this evening. At this point in time, I'd like to open the floor for public comment. He beat you to it. Mr. Scanlon? I hear you, it's a long time to sit, I feel it, I feel it.
Good evening. Ed Scanlon, Barnegat Pines, and I guess the disclaimer is I'm running for the board before somebody accuses me of campaigning. I have a question that came up from the presentation tonight, just one from Mr. Decker. I was wondering what the cutoff in terms of percentage was for approaching proficiency. In other words, how close do they have to be?
Well, 750, I believe, is the cutoff.
What's that?
750, I believe, is the cutoff. They have to double check, but they have to be beyond that. So let's say they receive the 749 or 730, they could be approaching. If they receive, I can't be honest, I can't remember the cutoff for below or not meeting, but I can get that number for you.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if it was 90% or, because it must be fairly close, right?
It's not really a percentage. It's a score, like a scored number. So 750 would and above would be meeting, and then let's say if you had, obviously, let's say a 250, that would be not meeting.
Right, right. But what I meant is it is fairly, it's relatively close. You're approaching.
Some of them could be, yes, absolutely.
Right.
You can have 749 and.
No, because when those numbers, when you combine those numbers, it sort of made the progress or the proficiency, the general proficiency.
Greater,
yes. Right.
And it could, yes.
Yeah. I just thought, I was just curious to know how close you had to be. Mr. George, I had a couple of questions for you, if I may. I was looking over the tape from the last meeting, and you showed a slide which showed the anticipated, I believe it was the anticipated revenue capital reserve was going to be $1,321,000, and the anticipated grants was $1,595,823. I was wondering, what are the grants for? Is there a specified use? In other words, is the grant dedicated to a specific thing?
Right. We're very fortunate to receive numerous grants, but the two major grants that we get, and again, that's segregated, as you know, in a separate fund, right?
Right.
The IDEA, which is a special education grant, and we also get what used to be called No Child Left Behind. Every Student Succeeds Act now. Those are the two major sources of grant revenue, federal money that we get.
Okay. On the spotlight video, you identified the 4 projects that were done this year, the security and enhanced surveillance at all the schools. You had the mill pond, gym floor, mill pond boiler, and the resurfacing of the track. Do you have a number for what the total was for those projects?
Sure. The answer is yes. If you just bear with me a second, I will get you that exact number. And thank you for watching, by the way. I appreciate that. All right, so the high school track replacement project budget was it was $556,000. That's for the high school track. get you the boilers. Oop, bear with me. There you go. The boilers, $775,000. All right, this next one comes in two parts. This is the Mill Pond gym floor. Okay. And bleachers, right? So the removal of the old floor is $555,000, but of the $188,000 to pay the vendor, there's a lot to it, but of the $188,000 to pay the vendor, the district will get all but $50,000 back from insurance. So it really only net cost us $50,000 for the actual contractor. And the installation of the new floor, right, oops, bear with me. So it's $555 altogether, $180 something for the removal, and 90. Well, I don't know why my computer.
No, go ahead, keep
Go ahead.
going. I thought you might have like a general ballpark figure for what all four cost.
Yeah, I want to give you the whole.
Well,
want to give you the whole
yeah.
thing. So 110, 180, $200,000 for the new floor and the bleachers. So if you're doing your math there?
Yeah, it looks like you're coming up to about about 1.5 million, 1.6 million.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood.
About that. Yep.
Yeah, that's I was kind of looking for. I wasn't
Yep.
looking, trying to nail you down to pennies.
That's okay. I want to give you the
right.
I want to give you all the information.
And I have my reason for asking that was because on the spotlight video, when you were interviewed, you said that the money doesn't come from taxpayers. You said it doesn't come from asking taxpayers for money.
Right.
The money does not come from the taxpayers. The assistant superintendent said it doesn't have anything to do with the general funds, and you said no way, shape, or form does it. Where's it come from?
Right. So I've talked about this numerous times. So maybe tonight will be your night to get it. So at the end of every school year, when we have the auditor come in and analyze the results of operations for the year, they will determine whether actual revenue exceeds or is less than actual expenses, right? So if actual revenue is greater than actual expenses, that gets added to, remember fund balance on the balance sheet?
Right.
Right, it gets added to fund balance, and the district decides the components of that fund balance. Some of it we know we owe for encumbrances, some of it we already have in a reserve account, some of it we have to legally keep in public surplus. So components of that, and in June we asked the board to say if there is funding available at the end of the year when the audit's completed and we're able to put the money into a reserve account, that's what we do. So
The capital reserve account.
that's one, or the maintenance reserve account, right. So the point was, and I think you might be just a little confused, we don't have to go to a referendum. We don't have to go out and ask taxpayers for additional money because we're able to build up our capital reserve from within our existing fund balance. Does that make sense?
I'm not confused. What I understand is what you're saying. Is at the end of the year, the leftover money goes into capital
there's any.
reserve.
Well, maybe.
Where did it come from? It didn't come from the grants.
No, it didn't come. It came from.
It came from.
Came from operations.
Where'd that money come from? It came from the taxpayers.
Some of it.
No, it came from the taxpayers.
You're trying to twist
I
my
wanna know-
words.
Okay, then my question is,
Yeah.
where is the rest of the funding for the budget coming from if your grants are spoken for?
Right. Right.
Where's-
I mean, you know how the components of the
What part
budget.
doesn't come from the taxpayers?
Sure, you know state aid, right? You know we get state aid, and you could make a case that, but you're twisting my words.
Well, no, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, you are, because,
Okay, fine,
and I'll explain why.
All right.
The point was, and go back and watch the video, okay? I said that there is no extra burden on the taxpayer. We don't have to conduct a referendum like some districts do, who can't manage their finances the way that we do. So instead of asking the taxpayers for more money, we do it within. That's the point.
Well, I'm not going to get into an argument over your words, but I'm going to tell you right now that I watched it 4 times because first couple of times I wasn't sure I heard it right. Then I did hear it right, and then I've heard from other people who've heard it right. You want to know where the money comes from because you specifically say money doesn't come from the taxpayers, but it's taxpayer money. But that's beside the point. I mean, it's just that we could go on, we probably go on all night. I'm not going to get into a thing about that, but
sure.
It just, I think it is taxpayer money. And I think one other time I said something about where the funds come from, and you were very clear telling me that once the money ends up in the general funds, there's no way to identify it other than it's general funds. So once the taxpayer's money gets in there, it's the taxpayer's money. And I just think it needs to be treated that way.
And it is. And it is.
The other thing that was said, and just one other thing, and then we'll go on. I asked you one other time when it came to all this with the cuts to the paraprofessionals this year. Previous years there were cuts. Are there more projects planned? And I didn't really get very much of an answer, but then in that video, I believe you say that we're looking at $10 to $12 million of future projects.
Sure, yes. So you've heard me.
Are there going to be future cuts to pay for it?
Wow. You're trying to make a connection where you're not really supposed to, right? So I'm trying to help you. I really am trying to help you. So we have a long-range plan. We are trying to anticipate things that are going to fail. Boilers, fire alarm systems, the need to replace exterior doors, all those things. We need to know what projects we'd like to do, but we don't have the money. I don't have $10 million. And there's really no guarantee that we're going to get it. But it doesn't change the fact that we have a plan. How we're going to pay for the plan, we don't know yet. But there are a host, just like any district. I mean, you know, Lacy's not unique. You got to know that, right? Every single district has buildings with things that break, grounds with things that need to get replaced. We don't make that up. That's something that we're trying to plan for, but it doesn't come by cutting anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because, yeah, I know you don't understand it. I could tell.
No, because there were cuts this year, and I'm concerned. What is the future bringing? I'm just concerned that we're looking at more things being cut, more things that come out of the educational end. And if things in the physical plant end need to be paid for, then I think if the public is informed and told what the future holds, they can be convinced to support the board in those needs. And this constant, we can't go to a referendum. Well, if you have a large expenditure come up and it's an emergency, or you can project it, the high school roof needs to be fixed because it leaks, and you tell the public and you let them know and you trust the public to understand it, you just might get the support to fix it without having to cut things. That's my point.
Well,
But
you're making it's very dangerous, and I really need to you saying that we are cutting things to pay for.
The paraprofessionals this year.
Yeah, that's a whole.
The cafeteria workers.
That's a whole separate thing. We don't do that to pay for physical plant. Do you understand that? We don't do that for that reason. We don't.
Well, if the money that was moved into the capital reserve had been used to pay the salaries, those people wouldn't have had to leave.
That is really not true. You can't make that case because.
Well, you're making the case that you're saving money for the future, that you're planning on being able to put
we're trying
$10 to $12 million aside as we go forward, because on your video you say you're going to need that money. So that money, if you weren't trying to put it aside, could have been used to pay salaries. And if I have that completely wrong, I don't know how much explanation you can give me to make me understand that.
Well, apparently there isn't enough because
Right.
I can tell you that when we create a budget, we don't create the budget with, oh, let's try to pad it and so we can get to the end of the year. We try to create the best budget we can. You just heard me say, things change.
But
Sometimes
you're projecting that you're going to put aside $10 to $12 million.
I didn't say that.
According to your video, you did.
I didn't say that. I didn't.
Now,
did I say? Let me.
You and I probably should sit down and watch the video together.
We can, sure, because what's funny? I don't know what's funny.
Because we're hearing two different things, and I think the public is hearing two different things.
You're saying that I said we have $10 to $12 million of more projects we have to try to find a way to do.
Right.
And we may not find a way to do that within our budget anymore. We might not. We might have to issue a referendum. We're trying to avoid that where we can. But that's not off the table because I can tell you right now, there's no way that this district's going to be able to put together that kind of money to take care of those projects anytime soon. It's never going to happen.
Right. All right.
So I invite you in. You and I can meet, and I'll try to go through it step by step for you. But you're trying to make connections which really you can't make. And I'll explain that to you if you want to come by. I'm happy to do it. But
okay.
Anytime you want.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tony Rizzoli, Sunrise Beach. Nice presentation, Mr. Decker. It proves out that we're still kind of mediocre. I'd like to see us do better. Keep trying, keep plugging. On our website, the previous speaker just spoke about the spotlight, and I just went on the website and I didn't see the spotlight. Did we take it down for a reason? Or else I just missed it. That was the one where the boilers and everything were mentioned, correct? Mr. Decker was there.
Yes.
Right? And it's interviewed the facilities, educational facilities manager.
It is on the website.
It is on there? I missed it?
Yep. It's on the
Okay.
right-hand side, right underneath the slides.
Okay. I was wondering because I noticed on tonight's agenda, on page, under F2, page 17, F2, page 17, under resignations, the guy featured that I brought up questions about performance last time is handed in his resignation. So my question is, if he was that good and loyal and doing the job right, what's going on? Are we got somebody else to replace him who's as good?
Well, you're making assumptions that the reason he left is because he was no good.
I don't know why he's leaving.
Well,
I'm not him.
That's not the case. It was a personal reason He's actually moving closer to home.
Okay.
Actually, that district's where he's going, it's going to be their gain, a huge loss for us. Huge.
Well, one of the reasons I brought it up was, last time I was here, I told you I get around town some and I talk to people. And I understand that some of our fields need some really better refurbishment. And from the athletic fields. And I was just going to mention that we have somebody in town who knows a lot about keeping up field appearance, and he happens to be somebody who is no longer employed by the township, and maybe we can conscript him on a consulting basis, and maybe it'd be helpful to us in bringing those fields back up to par. And I think everybody knows his name, Mr. Parker. So if you can grab him, and maybe he can help you out. But I'm just saying it because, like I said, I hear things that the fields aren't up to par. Next subject, strategic planning. You were surprised to see me, Dr. Clark, were you not? Because I said I wouldn't be there. I didn't lie, but...
I was surprised.
Okay, I didn't tell you an untruth. It's just that something that was scheduled didn't happen, and I happened to grace my presence at your strategic planning meeting, and I asked one question, and I was denied. And it's really a simple question, and it's something that's very close to my heart, and you know that. It's transparency with the district. And its input, okay? There are people in this town who can't make those dates for reasons that are beyond their control. A lot of them are confined to their houses. A lot of them are disabled. A lot of them have transportation issues. A lot of them have, crowd avoidance issues. There's a lot of reasons why some people, many of them seniors, okay, can't be giving their input to what happens to their tax dollars over the next 5 years. And that's why I asked, is there a way for those people to give that input to strategic plan? Because their dollars are being spent here. And the lack of their input, because they can't make those specific dates no matter what the reason, I think is unfair to the public, and I think it's unfair to the taxpayer, and I think it really hits the seniors more than it hits anybody else, okay? Because they have more reasons not to be able to be there, okay? And what I asked was, and you heard me, is there a way to do it, via, a Skype, a way to, actual live FaceTime? We were in a room that was loaded with computers. I mean, we're live here. We can be live. I don't think it's technically that difficult to do, where you can have, people come from their homes.
Right, I
to
hear
the
what
planning,
you're saying.
and if not,
hold on, let me before you go on. There are lots of ways. There's Skype, there's Zoom. I don't think that the response that night was an emphatic no. That was coming from Kathy Weinkauf, who happens to be doing lots of strategic planning. But that's a decision that we certainly can make.
Exactly.
So it's not a no. But, and take this the right way, it wasn't that nobody was willing to answer your question, it's how you were asking the question. So I just want you to be mindful of, when we're up here and the way we're talking to each other, we just have to think about how we're asking the question. And I'm going to say this. It's absolutely something that we can consider, because I hear what you're saying, that for something as big as strategic planning, that we wouldn't want more community input. So, yeah, we'll absolutely consider the options.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up is, and I thought about this whole thing, and I thought about, the state came in and they made the presentation. It's not their future. It's our future. It's a local thing, okay? And what I'm asking for is, and I did also notice tonight that there was on page 19, number 6, there was a liaison person.
Yeah, a web-based communications liaison.
And what is the purpose of that? What does that person do?
I don't have the job description right in front of me, but this is the person who is going to ensure that the information that is on our website is current. You'd be surprised at how often we all go on our website and we find something that was there 5 years ago. So this person's going to be dedicated to keeping an eye on that, ensuring that information is posted in a timely manner, like strategic planning, like our state assessment presentation. If we take it a step further and we develop a district Facebook page or a district Instagram page, that's what this person is going
Or
to
a
be doing.
strategic planning
I just
input
said strategic planning.
page. You know,
I just said
something
that.
where people can give the information in, and then the people who do get to the meeting can take those things and maybe expand on
Absolutely.
them, consider 'em.
Right. And for a
method
district-
of communication.
And for a district our size, we probably should have had somebody like that in place 3 years ago. But we've been carefully crafting what that job description would look like. Our IT department has come a long way. Mr. England is doing a fantastic job as supervisor of IT. When I think back just 6 years ago, how far we've come in IT, that's a credit to the revisions that have taken place in that department. And so this has come to fruition over lots of planning, lots of models that we've looked at in other districts, and just keeping up with it, with where technology is,
Well,
and
that would
where
be
we are
nice.
specifically.
That would be nice, again, for people who do not have an educational background, people in business, people who have life experiences like us old people, okay? To give input to what they've seen with their children that they would like to see with their grandchildren, and have the ability to do it is what I'm talking about, okay? So, thank you for that. Continue. I'd like to see it done for November, what was that? November what? 20th?
20th.
November 20th. If they could get input in for that date and a place to put it in, that would be nice. Under new business, page 6, goal 2, page 4. That's what happens when I come early, Mr. DeGeorge.
I'm sorry, page 4.
Page 4.
Number
6, goal 2. Increase the student graduation rate by offering alternative opportunities for students to obtain graduation credits. Can you give me an example of an alternative opportunity to obtain graduation credits?
Well, an example would be the Ocean County College Academy, the Humanities Leadership Academy, STEM Academy. So not every student is a STEM student interested in science, technology, engineering, math. That student might be interested in the humanities. So that's an alternative. Some students might be interested in taking online classes because they wanted to take Mandarin, and we don't offer Mandarin. But the opportunity is there for that student to take it online through the Lacy Online Learning Academy, which we call
So
LOLA.
they could learn it on their own and they would get credit for that.
Right.
How about running a cash register or doing inventory control? We've got a lot of big box stores in this town. We got a power plant that's leaving, but we got a lot of big box stores in this town that need people who can run registers, do inventory control, okay? How about giving them credit for jobs that are in the town that they're working as their students, okay? Like a work release, that doesn't sound real, it sounds more inner city type, but a school release program to work. I remember when I was a kid, which was, before running water, you had to get working papers, and you were able to leave the school, and you had to have it signed by, the people in the school. Am I right, Mr. Morandi? And you went to work, okay? Because some of us worked since we were 13 and 14 years old, okay? And we had to. And maybe we could earn credits for learning on the jobs that we could get promotions from within to go up corporate ladders to become successful, and not necessarily have to go to college to do it, okay? But still have successful careers because we started from the bottom and worked our way up, which is capitalism, okay? And I think we're still capitalistic, I think. Anyway, but I was just wondering if that would be considered, and that would be something that I would throw into the strategic planning. Okay, why not? Is it outside the box? No, it's
Then we
really
hope
old.
you'll join us on November 20th.
It's really old, not outside the box. It's just an old thing coming back. Okay, next. Page 9, number 18. Page 9, number 18, policies and regulations. Policy P 8630, bus drivers / bus aid responsibilities. What was the change in the responsibilities? Yes, Mr. Riggs.
Oh, Mr. Rizzoli, I can handle that. Thank you very much. What is it you want to know? 8630?
Yes, 8630.
8630. Hold on, please.
Okay.
So, not there yet. Hold on. Okay. So, we have, in addition to the medical examination required of every holder of a special license for transportation of children to and from schools pursuant to NJSA, any school bus driver who is 70 years of age or older shall annually furnish to the employer for review by the NJMVC at the biannual inspection satisfactory evidence of continuing physical fitness in the form of a medical examination by a licensed medical doctor or licensed osteopathic physician. It also changed, we took away, this was a mandated update. This wasn't
From the
something we
state?
came, yeah.
Yeah,
this is
because
from
of
the
that Route
state.
80 crash, I guess? Or for the guy who just got arrested for driving drunk?
That would have been a little too early because we
Oh,
did
okay.
this a couple weeks ago. But they took out NJSA 18A 39 17 18 19.120 and replaced it with NJAC 6A. So it was just really cleaning it up, is what it was.
Okay, so
I
it was
have
for
it- I mean-
physical exams, not for additional responsibilities while they are driving the bus or the aides on the bus?
No, has
Okay,
nothing to do with that.
I piggybacked that because, I brought up the seatbelt thing, and I thought maybe it would have been additional responsibilities to make sure the kids are in fact seatbelted.
I have another one. Upon notification from the NJDOE that a school bus driver employed by the board has had his or her bus driver license suspended or revoked, the board within 1 business day of the notification shall provide a statement verifying to the school bus driver no longer operates a school bus for the board in accordance with NJSA 18A. That was another addition. And then just more regulations in the back,
All right,
statutes
so
and stuff like
it
that.
addresses keeping our kids safe on the buses?
Correct.
Okay,
That's
good.
what it's about.
That's an enhancement. I'm glad to see it.
Oh, thank you.
Our best performers, with Mr. Decker's presentation there, it seemed like when it comes to the diversification, our best performers are in fact our Asian kids. They do very, very well. They far and away, they show that they want to learn and are doing very, very well as to what they do learn. And you just said, we don't teach Mandarin. And, that's something else that I think we should really look at. I mean, French is nice if you're going to read a menu.
You know what the challenge is? Finding
You
a
know?
Mandarin teacher.
Yeah, I know. So, but in the business world today, I've got a son that travels to China back and forth because that's where his products are made. Yeah, and he's an engineering guy, and he has to learn some of it to be able to run a business. Okay, so maybe we should rethink what our languages that we teach here. Chinese, Mandarin would be good. Computer language would be even better, rather than Italian, French, or some of the other Romance languages that are so wonderful that really don't count anymore. Don't get me wrong, I walked in the Columbus Day Parade this year. Okay, so I heard a lot of Italian. One last thing. Friday night lights. Those people did great getting those lights up and collecting all that money and to get those lights up. I think that's wonderful, and I compliment them for it. We charge entry fees, do we not, for sporting events? Where does the money go? What count does it go into, Mr. George?
It goes into our student activities fund, and we use it to pay officials' fees and
Licensing for the
other things. Yes.
leagues and those kinds. But is it dedicated sports money coming into sports funds? And if so, there should have been a very big increase in that
Yeah.
money coming in with the lights on Friday nights.
Yes.
So now we have a lot more money coming in, and the question is, does it cover more of the athletic expenses, such as, the stipends for the coaches, like on a football team?
It doesn't cover stipends.
Doesn't cover stipends.
No, it does
so
not.
it
However,
doesn't
what it
pay
does
for the
do,
coaches.
what it does do, is it decreases the need for that fund, that account to take money out of the operating budget.
Out of the operating
So that's
budget.
a good thing.
All right, so it offsets it a
Yes.
little bit, but the money coming in for sports is used for sports first,
Primarily.
primarily. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more public comment, I will make a motion to close the floor to public comment.
Second.
Somebody move it. There you go. All right, at this time, I will move on to board member comment. Mr. Peters, I'll start with you.
I have no comments, thank you.
All right. Ms. DeSenza.
Is this on? Now it's on. And thank you to Mr. DeGeorge for his budget presentation. Congratulations to the October Students of the Month, Daniel McClung, Samantha Swain, and our Vocational Senior of the Month, Michael Spina, and our unsung hero, Gabrielle Spafford. Great job by you all. Our 6 district schools held very successful back-to-school nights, and I was able to attend 5 of the 6 while giving out the sign-up sheets for the strategic plan kickoff meeting, and it was nicely attended. And I look forward to seeing everyone again on November 20th. On September 26th, the Ocean County School Board meeting was held concurrent with the middle school back-to-school night. Mr. DeGeorge, our business administrator, was the presenter of a budget information session that night. So that was why I could not attend the middle school back-to-school night. I was committed to the county school board meeting that particular evening. Lacy Day on Saturday, September 28th, was well attended in spite of the hot weather. Summer was holding on. Tuesday, October 1st, at 6:30 was the strategic planning kickoff meeting held with our NJSBA field rep, Ms. Kathy Weinkoff, and this 5-year plan will be developed over the coming months ahead. The next meeting, as I mentioned, is November 20th, and the committees will be formed. Please don't hesitate to sign up because it's not too late. There was a new student breakfast hosted by the high school SGA on October 1st. And the guidance department held an open house at the high school on October 3rd. Monday night, October 7th, we had our curriculum committee meeting. Tuesday, October 8th, was the PTSA meeting at the high school. Parents are needed to help plan and chair project graduation. Please consider helping the PTSA. See their Facebook page for details. Their next meeting is November 12th at 6:30 p.m. in the high school teachers' lounge. On Wednesday, October 9th, the Finance Committee met with the Township Committee, and then after that meeting, we had our Finance Committee meeting. The striping on the track has been completed, and it looks wonderful. It is the nicest track that Lacy has had since the district was established, state-of-the-art, and let's hope it will last far into the future. On Tuesday, October 15th, the High School Close-Up Club hosted Candidates Night. Congratulations to the students for a very well-organized debate. The video is on Channel 21, and it's also available on YouTube. This past Saturday night was the homecoming dance held at the high school. It was great. The students had a wonderful time, and this year's theme was Hollywood. The gym was decorated very nicely. The Cedar Creek School is collecting plastic bottles number 1 and number 2 for the National Recycle Challenge. If you can help them, please bring the bottles to Cedar Creek. They have a collection bin in back of the school. The recent major capital improvements, the high school track, the Mill Pond boilers, and the very soon-to-be completed Mill Pond gym floor are almost done. We apologize for the length of time needed for the Mill Pond floor, but there were many paperwork stages to go through, as well as the actual labor and materials. There are many variables that the district had no control over. This coming week, Tuesday and Wednesday, October 22nd and 23rd, will be the NJSBA workshop in Atlantic City. And I apologize if there are any school events I will not be able to attend Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday night, October 24th at 6:30 p.m., there will be financial aid information night at the high school. Friday night, October 25th, the middle school is having a dance. And on Saturday, October 26th, the PTSA is hosting Mother-Son Bingo at the high school. Tuesday, October 29th, we will have the induction ceremony for the new NHS members at 6:30 p.m. in the high school. And thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. The next board business meeting will be Monday, November 18th. Time for the annual auditor presentation. If it's ready, please consider attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeSenza. Mr. Polino.
We have a lot going on.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to congratulate Students of the Month, the readers and their accomplishments. It's great to see them. That's what it's all about. Again, Mr. DeGeorge, Mr. Decker for their presentations. One thing I do want to just bring up, I don't know if the President's going to bring it up or not, but within the last month, we lost a dear member of the community, former board member Charles Kennis, passed away. I know him personally, great guy. You know, he was one of the old-time guys where a simple handshake was contract, and you know, the man built my house, and that's what it was. And the handshake, and we did things. It was great. So I just want to, you know, remember him, and condolences to his family and his son Stephen, who's on our town council. And don't forget, get out and vote. A couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Polino. Mr. Riggs.
All right, everybody, back to policy time. Thank you before, Tony, for starting us out. But so we met on October 7th, have a brand new policy committee. I've got Skip now, and now we got Frank Polino as our new policy committee. We met from 6:15 to, we went about to 8:30. We did about 2 hours and 15 minutes this time around. Oh yeah, it was a good one. So what did we talk about that whole time? 3218 and 4218 policy and regulations. They take over for what was known previously as just substance abuse. Anything with the 3,000 before it is for certificated. The 4,000 stuff is non-certificated, but they both mirror each other. It's basically the same thing. The big addition on the bottom of those was, besides just calling it, generally speaking, substance abuse, now we have use, possession, or distribution of just substances. We've broadened the category out. At the very end, we were offered one of two things to do, and we went with an option called the last chance agreement. I'll read that for you real quick. A teaching staff member who has been determined by the board physician to be under the influence of a substance during work hours or at a school-sponsored function where the teaching staff member has been assigned job responsibilities may be offered a last chance agreement upon the recommendation of the superintendent and approval by the board. A written last chance agreement must be approved by the board. So it used to just be before, it could have just went any way, you know, if tenured, non-tenured, however it went. But now we're offering a written last chance agreement for anything like this. Reimbursement of federal and other grant expenditures. This one had to do with, we went from No Child Left Behind to, what's it called now? What's it called? ESSA. So that was, again, we're just, anytime the No Child Left Behind Act was written, now we have to go back and we have to do the ESSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act. So we just had to go back again and clean up the wording for any place where that was written down. We tabled that one. Bus driver aid responsibility, we went over. I don't think we got to go back into that again. And then we have also transportation of special needs students. It used to be called transportation of disabled students. Again, we've just cleaned up the wording across the board. And that's our first read for all the policies that are coming up for this month. And then if you remember from last month, we have second read up right now, and adoption, which was earned sick leave, which was 30 hours as 1 hour accrued sick pay. Teaching staff members, school district reporting responsibilities was just a cleanup. We're going to be issuing ID cards, and substance abuse, which is 5530. That was just the regulation to go with the policy that was never there before. So that's it for our policy and regulations this month. And the only other thing I have is, like Regina touched on, Cedar Creek Recycle Rally. If you guys can, they pulled that third place last year with 40,000. I think the year before it was fifth place or something like that. What was it? Fourth place, 9,000. So we went to third place with 40K. So let's see what we can do this year. So like I said, you can always drop off. You don't have to have a kid who goes there. They have a bin around the back. You can just drop off any ones or twos. And that is it for me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Riggs. Mirandy.
Short and sweet. Congratulations, Student of the Month. And I'm going to actually miss seeing these little guys come down with this summer reading program. The faces, like Tony said, they're jumping down, running down the steps there. It was like a real pleasure to see. I'm going to address you. You make some very good comments, and that's why when people come and say some smart things, we listen, we talk about it. Your opening comment, I don't know about that. No, mediocre, okay? You said Mr. Decker proved that the school's mediocre. No, this chatter stuff, someone that's not here tonight made a comment, and it kept on going, and some kids, high school kids, got involved in the chatter. And I don't think you could really grade us on these state tests, because most of the kids are saying it's more of a race to see who finishes first. So I don't really go by these scores. I was more impressed with the increase in scores in the AP classes, graduation rates with the Ocean County schools, some of these acceptances to some of these big schools. So I'm not a big believer, and I'm sure there's a big debate on these state tests, so I'm not really, like I said, you could grade us any way you want, Lacy Township, but I still wouldn't go by these grades. I think starts, Mrs. Amos made a thing with summer reading, starts at home, okay? Teachers teach, they have a curriculum to teach. You know why? If it's not instilled at home to study, to do your homework, to come to school, to learn, you know what? Some kids just don't do it. So, it's a combined effort. Teachers, administration, students, and parents. So, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mirandy. Again, the students of the month, Gabrielle, Michael, Samantha, and Daniel, congratulations on your accomplishments. Reading. Reading is what I believe is the foundation of all of education. You need to read for math, you need to read for science, you need to read for history, and studies show that reading above or at an accelerated level usually shows higher academic performance. And I've been asked a lot lately what motivates me to sit in this seat. And as Mr. Mirandy said, it's exactly that. It's seeing these young learners come down, being so excited with their achievements, seeing our staff putting programs in place that fosters reading over the summer months. But you touched on it, Mr. Mirandy. One of the things that I've said in the past over the last 6 years is education starts and ends in the home. And it's really, we're fortunate enough, or our teaching staff is fortunate enough to have the students for 6 hours a day. But it really starts with mom and dad. It really starts with caregiver, step parents, to take an active role in your child's education. And we see board meetings, whenever there's controversy, they're well attended. And I'm going to disagree with Dr. Clark. While I think we had some good attendance at strategic planning, this is the time for people in this community to get out and make a difference, to have your voice heard. Your idea, Mr. Rizzoli, and I'm sorry if I didn't mean to point. Apparently that's not right nowadays either, but your idea, this isn't a point, it's a hand. Your idea is a good one, but what we need to have is 110% community involvement on the strategic plan. It's critical. This is the community's chance to have a voice in how this district goes forward in the next 5 years. So I just really, I have to commend our teaching staff with our young grade levels and putting those programs in place. It's a great thing to see. You talked about some life skills and some things, and some of the ideas that I have that I think we really need to focus on is, teaching financial skills for students. I mentioned this before. How to build credit, how to open up a checking account, how to go for a small business loan. These are things that we really need to focus on with our high school students. So when they get out, I need a car. How do I go out and get a car loan? Important life skills. Those are things that I think we really need to focus on. SAT and test preparation isn't for everyone. And I think another thing that we need to look at is a focus on, the trades, right? I know a lot of people right now that are electricians, plumbers, union workers. They're making some pretty good money. You know why? Because there's a shortage of those types of skills. Not everyone's meant for college. But to have mentors when you're in high school to say, if you're not a college person, maybe you want to work with your hands. Mr. Peters, you've talked about this in the past, right? So a trade. But to have specific mentors in high school going a step further, we have guidance counselors, not today, but maybe instead of guidance counselors that focus on the general population of every student, you have guidance counselors that focus on your high academic achievers. You have guidance counselors that focus on people that want to go into the trades, right? And then you have guidance counselors that maybe want to work with those kids that, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to be, go into the service, or maybe be a, a public servant, or, become a law enforcement officer. If those are types of things that we need to start thinking about, and those are types of things that the community at large, when they come in, can have input on. So I want to see these, we should be blowing out the door. We should have to move the meeting out of the room that it's in because we have that much attendance. That's what I would like to see, to get everybody involved. Mr. Scanlon, I know you talked about finances tonight, and, I look at it like this. Most people that are fiscally responsible at home have an emergency fund, and they have that emergency fund for, God forbid, there's a medical emergency, or they have an emergency fund for, a car breaks down. So, I look at it as sound financial management to put money aside because down the road, inevitably, our buildings get older, the wear and tear in the infrastructure, things are going to need, to be replaced. And I understood kind of where you were going with your comments, and I think you should come in and sit down with Mr. DeGeorge. I won't get into it with you directly, but I do believe that we have shown sound financial fiscal management to be able to do the things that we need to do to keep the lights on, to keep things in tip-top shape. I mean, you can't avoid replacing a boiler. You need heat, right? So, there's things that we're doing, the entire board, when we review our finances and, make decisions on how to proceed. So, with that, I will conclude my remarks. It is an important day coming up November 5th. I would implore everyone that wants to get out and make a difference in this town to get out and vote and make your voice heard. So with that, I will conclude my remarks. On to new business. A, new business 1 through 21.
Motion.
You got the second, Ms. DeSenza?
Second, no problem.
Okay.
Which, who is it? Is it Mr.
It's
Randy?
Mr. Morandi and Ms. DeSenza. Roll call.
Mr. Polino?
You abstain on day 2, day 36?
Your own reimbursement, right? And everything else is?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, sir. Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Sir, you are going to abstain to your bills list payment through Manchester?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I'm going to say 82, page 28, item number 1, 73251.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. DeSenza?
Yes on all except 39 items on A2 list of bills, and I'll email them to you in the morning.
Thank you. Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Morandi?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item B, donations.
Motion.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Polino.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Peters.
I'm going to say yes, but I have to abstain on the donation that I made personally.
Yes, sir. Mrs. DeSenza.
Yes on all, and thank you very much.
Mr. Riggs.
Oh, yes, thank you very much.
Mr. Morandi.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Giordano.
Yes, and thank you very much. Item C, programs and curriculum.
Motion.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Polino.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Mrs. Sensa.
Yes.
Mr. Riggs.
Yes.
Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
Mr. Giordano.
Yes. Item D, professional days and workshops.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Polino. Mr. Peters.
Yes.
What is that?
Mrs. DeSensa.
Yes.
Mr. Riggs.
Yes.
Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
Mr. Giordano.
Yes. Item E, certificated personnel, items 1 through 20.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Polino. Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Mrs. DeSensa.
Yes.
Mr. Riggs.
Yes.
Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
Mr. Giordano.
Yes. Item F, non-certificated personnel, items 1 through 9.
Motion.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Polino.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Mrs. DeSensa.
Yes, with regret, Mr. MacArthur, we'll miss you.
Mr. Riggs.
Yes.
Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Excellent. Motion to adjourn the meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.